I don't have any more space on my pedal board for chorus and flanger pedals.
Well, you're in luck, because you can do it all with your delay.
Delay, 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 delay.
So very, very, very cool. Hey everyone, Dan here. Welcome to That Pedal Show.
Mick here, hello.
That was so weird.
Really weird. Short shows today. For all those of you who don't like short shows, long shows. Little disclaimer, bit of housekeeping.
Indeed.
Some of our videos are very long and some people struggle to get through them. So this one we're going to attempt to keep shorter and to the point.
Yeah, some would say sweeter. Before we get going, please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Also, a massive thank you to everyone that's gone to thatpedalshowstore.com and grabbed t-shirts and hats and strings and pedals and all the stuff that helps us keep going.
Indeed. Right, very simple premise today. How to turn your delay pedal into a flanger and or a chorus.
Indeed. So we've talked about it before a lot on the show. What is a chorus and what is a flanger? It's all based around delay. Okay, if we take our delay pedal and we can reduce the delay time enough, we can get down to some really cool modulation sounds, i.e. chorus and flanger.
So just explain what a chorus is a sec, Dan. Then you've got your dry guitar signal, and then what do you do to it?
So we have a dry guitar signal. That signal is split. One side is modulated, pitch-wise up and down, and then that's mixed back in with our original signal at the end. But the way that we modulate that pitch is through delay. We split the signal, it goes through a delay chip, and that delay time is modulated up and down, and that gives us that vibrato sound. And that vibrato is then mixed at the end with our original signal, and that gives us chorus.
You get chorus. Okay, so we've got some common or garden delay pedals on the board. The MXR Carbon Copy, probably, maybe, who knows, among the, if not the most popular modern analog delay pedal. Game changer when it came along years back. Designed by George Trips of Way Huge and MXR fame. Is ostensibly a Bucket Brigade device style analog delay.
Yes.
And in its delay life, sounds a bit like this. Cleaner sounds, long delay, here we go.
So that's a really simple delay, right? What we'll do now, we're going to reduce that delay down to like a slapback. Okay, so if you just keep playing.
Slapback delay, Dan, lives in a millisecond range of?
Oh, let's say 100 milliseconds, 120 milliseconds, around there.
Yeah, 1 to 150, I always think.
Yeah.
We've got a millisecond readout on the DD200 in a minute, but as you heard, straight analog delay goes from, I think, about 600 milliseconds or thereabouts,
Yep.
all the way down to low. And this is where it gets really interesting. Why?
Well, our modulation sounds, our flanger and chorus sounds, really the flanger starts at about 1 millisecond, like half a millisecond actually, up to about 5.
Which we'll prove in a sec.
Yep.
And that's important because when you're looking to buy your delay pedal, they'll always talk about the maximum delay time.
Yep.
All day long.
Like
because
it's a big deal.
That's what everyone wants, right? The maximum delay time. What they rarely talk about is the minimum delay time.
Yeah.
So, common example would be the Catlin Bred Bell Epoch Deluxe. We were going to use that today. It's one of mine and Dan's favourite delay pedals.
You can call me Dad.
Dad. One of Dad's favourite guitar pedals. But the problem with the Bell Epoch Deluxe is...
It only goes down to 80 milliseconds.
So you can't do chorus or flanging because...
It's, really, a chorus sort of maximum about 50 milliseconds.
Yeah.
Between 25 and 50 milliseconds for a chorus.
So the essential elements of chorus then, Dan, are...
We have to have a short enough delay time between 25 and 50 milliseconds, but we also have to have modulation. That delay time has to modulate, and it needs to modulate fairly substantially. So, enough to give us a bit of movement in that delay line. So once you hear that on top, it gives us that chorus sound.
Because what it's modulating is between, 18 and 22 milliseconds or some variance.
Yeah, it ends
therein.
up being like a percentage of,
Yeah.
So if we don't get enough depth in there, it's hard to get that big lush chorus thing going.
So as he said earlier, the pitch modulation is manifested because the delay time is changing.
Exactly.
All right then. Daniel used the term modulation. Let's hear it in the carbon copy.
So that's pretty extreme, right?
Seasick.
Yeah. But you'll see when we reduce the delay time right down, that becomes much less apparent.
The good news in the carbon copy, by the way, is in the back are 2 little trim pots, so you can. I'll do a detail.
Okay.
You can affect the speed of the modulation and the depth of the modulation.
Indeed.
And you've done that to...
I've cranked the depth as far as up as it'll go.
Yeah.
And the speed sort of halfway speedy.
Halfway, okay. So then what happens, as you were saying, we turn the delay time down.
We're going to turn the delay time down until you get to the point where you can still hear a slight, bit of like the tightest slapback you've ever heard.
Yeah.
And then as we turn the mix up, we'll hear that modulated line next to our guitar signal.
Okay. It's really touchy.
So, yeah, because we get down to 10 milliseconds in the carbon copy, which is
right, wow.
super, super tight. Not quite into flanging, but you can see it hints at it, right?
Yeah.
We're down that low. But when you get up to a little bit more, to 20 plus, and then you start hearing those chorus tones. But you hear how much the modulation that we had originally, right? And how that's sort of thinned out now because we're at such tight delay times. But it is still such a cool chorus sound. The other massive advantage, fun thing to do, shall we say, because, CE2 has its sound all based around this idea. But the really cool thing with this is we also have a regeneration, which means that we can have our delayed sound repeated back in, which in a chorus is like a really, really cool sound. So if I do just a chorusy thing. And now I'll take that really short slapback delay and I'll add some regeneration to it. It's so cool. I've always loved, my modulation, but being able to get phone modulation sounds like this. So the analog delay episode that we did last week, one of the things that, we were messing around with the old AD80.
Last week, by the way, if you're looking for that in the playlist, it would have been from late August, maybe early September 2021.
Indeed. And so we're having a play with the old Ibanez AD80, and that can go super low. And we were getting, because it doesn't have any modulation in it, we weren't getting those classic flangey sounds, but there was something about those super low delay times in that gave us, sort of reminiscent of those tones, which was really cool, which led to the idea of let's play with some really short delay times. So that modulation, what we're modulating the signal, is essential for a chorus thing. If we get rid of the modulation, what we have is a basic doubler.
Okay. If you play then, I'll turn the regen down again.
Yes.
So that we're just hearing the chorus. I'll turn the modulation on and off and we can just hear that.
Yep, cool.
The doubling delay is still a tremendously cool sound, and it's something that is really worth mucking about with if you have a delay pedal that goes down to, 20 milliseconds, thereabouts. But it's adding that modulation that gives the movement, minimal movement in the delay time, which creates the pitch modulation.
Absolutely.
Really cool, really cool. And then the regen thing. So what I found interesting about when you started pushing the regen, it started having like a flangier characteristic to me, just in the way that it sounded a bit more metallic, and sometimes that's something that I would associate with flangier sounds.
Absolutely. So that regeneration thing, flangers have the ability to mix the signal back into itself, whether it's called regeneration, whether it's called intensity. that's what that's all about. So it's very typical of flangers to have that.
So a flanger, is the same as a chorus with shorter delay time,
short delay times
and more regeneration.
And regeneration, exactly that.
Wow. Okay. So the good news is DD200. Just before we switch it on, we'll turn the MXR Carbon Copy down to 10 milliseconds so you can hear that. But then, as we'll go on to explain, actually we need to go a bit shorter than that.
We do.
Here's play the MXR then, Dan.
The coolest thing about that is that's a digital delay pedal. I love that.
There you go. Standard Fair Boss DD200. Not only is it a really fully functioned, brilliant delay pedal, but you can also make it a flanger. How?
So what we've done is we have got quite a lot of modulation in there, but we've reduced that delay time down to 2 milliseconds.
All right. So as you can see, it's set to 2 milliseconds. And one of the great things is you've got that millisecond readout. We'll come back down there in a sec. Let's go up to a delay time that people will recognize. So, I don't know, let's say around 300 milliseconds, which is sort of normal mid-level delay.
Oh, well done.
That's a nice number, Dan.
That's a nice number.
So here you go. So you can hear how this sounds. I'm going to stick some overdrive on because I want to. Standard delay pedal.
Standard delay pedal.
Interesting choice of scale.
So you've got to keep playing, and I'm going to start rolling that delay time down.
You'll notice I turned the effect level and the feedback down just so that it was less prominent in the sound.
Yes, but I'm going to turn them back up.
Okay.
There you go. It's so cool. The other really cool thing about doing it like this is, of course, you can store that as a preset.
Yeah, so it's all very well, isn't it, knowing how to manipulate the controls, but what if you want to switch between your flanger and your standard delay pedal in a set? Well, if you've got a pedal such as the DD200 or indeed any other delay pedal that has these factors, number one, must go down to low numbers of milliseconds, and we'll just let you hear 1 to 5 milliseconds in a sec. So it must go down to low numbers of milliseconds, number one. Number two, it must have modulation.
Must have modulation.
And that's it.
And that's it. It's such a fun thing to do. You know, man, delay pedals, we're both big fans of them, but so rarely do we explore that end of the delay time. And there's a whole world of amazing sounds down there.
Yeah.
So if you're in the studio or whatever, you're looking for a bit of inspiration, get that delay time down and just, have a play. You might not necessarily be massive fans of, enough of a fan of chorus or flangers to actually buy them. Doesn't mean that you can't get those sounds with a delay pedal.
Very cool.
It's so cool.
Let's listen to, just to finish off then, we'll listen to 1 through, say, 10 milliseconds, and you can hear, you play, mate. This is your bag. And just to prove it is a delay pedal.
Indeed.
Some weird ass shimmer mode.
Well, there you go. Hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Also, a massive thank you to our preferred retailers in the UK and Europe is
Anderson's Music of Guildford in Surrey, where you can definitely buy the delay pedals.
And our dear friends in Australia
would be Pedal Empire of Brisbane, Queensland.
A massive thank you to our patrons on Patreon. And of course, anyone that's gone to thatpedalshowstore.com and grabbed some merch really helps us keep the show going. Thank you so much.
Indeed.
Indeed. Also, please join us on Monday for our live viewers' comments and questions, aka VCQ, that happens at 5 p.m. British time.
You can ask us literally anything, so please do.
Yeah, great. Join us then. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.